What's up, guys? We're back with another Sportuniverse podcast. This is podcast number 6, I think.
5. Well, I guess because 6, including the ones that you scattered throughout.
Yeah. So 6. So it's me, Brian, and I'm joined with Nick Horvath.
What's going on, guys?
I forgot to say where the sports are our universe. That's our little catchphrase that I came up with. So we're going to mainly be focused on the NBA Finals today. We're trying to add a few segments throughout. So we have our favorite team segment. We really don't have another name for that yet. And at the end of each podcast, we're going to start doing a controversial debate or a topic in the sports world, which should be interesting. So I guess we'll get started with the NBA Finals. Nick, do you want to go through some stuff with that?
Sure. We're up to Game 5 now. I didn't get to really cover the last 2 games during the week, so we didn't get to cover them game by game during our podcast. But I would say both games generally went the same way. In my opinion, like watching through all of the finals games so far, they all generally follow the same patterns. The first quarter is kind of sloppy. The teams are figuring out where it goes. Then one team dominates. A team makes a surge in the third quarter, but it's not enough. And the team who starts to dominate from the second quarter into the fourth are usually the winners. And that has been surprisingly the Raptors, which I don't think anybody in the sports world saw coming. No one thought that the Raptors had the firepower to take down the Warriors.
Definitely not.
The Warriors have been lackluster on offense, lackluster on defense. They just don't seem like the same team. That Kyrie's not drilling every single 3 hits. Clay's not there. They've been riddled with injuries. It's been quite the messy finals for the Warriors. Yeah. And I don't know. It's going to be a tough comeback at this point. But Durant is reportedly coming back tonight. It's roughly 7 o'clock. Yeah. Monday night, so the game's going to be happening in a couple hours. Durant should be back. I think with Durant coming back, regardless of how he does, I think the Warriors are going to find a surge tonight. I think they'll overcome. They'll take a win tonight. But I could not tell you if the Warriors are going to come back in the series. I think the Raptors have it. Yeah. But I don't know what you think.
Yeah. I mean, I know their backs are to the wall tonight, so I feel like they're going to get a win. But I don't know. I mean, the Warriors are the Warriors, and they have all that firepower that could lead them to come back in the series and win, which is definitely not impossible. It's what the Raptors did that to the Bucks last series. It was 3-1 in that series too, right?
I don't think it was it 3-1? I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact. Actually, no, it wasn't 3-1 because it went to Game 6, so it must have been 2-1.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. Okay, whatever. I mean, so the Raptors did come back.
I would love for it to have been 3-1 because Game 7 in that series would have been amazing.
That would have been cool.
I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. So definitely, there's definitely a possibility that the Warriors could come back. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're getting Kevin Durant back, but you can't expect a lot from Kevin Durant given that he's been injured the whole playoffs and he's missed a lot of time.
Over a month now.
Yeah, which is surprising. Like, in the beginning, I didn't think it was going to be such a long injury, and I doubt anyone did. So, I think the Raptors are going to win, but so far in this podcast, I've been wrong with every single thing that I've predicted, I'm pretty sure. And I feel like I'm not wrong with this one, and I feel like most people think that the Raptors are going to win. Now, I don't know if I want the Raptors to win because of the next thing we're going to get into, but I think the Raptors are going to win. And I don't think Kevin Durant is going to be up to par for him to really give them enough power to get them to Game 7 and for them to win Game 7. So then, you have anything else to say about that?
I just want to talk, because we're going to go into Kevin Durant a little bit more.
Yeah.
And, going forward. I just want to talk a little about Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors themselves. Them winning the finals, if they do, which, it looks like they're going to at this point, it's so impactful in the NBA. One, on Kawhi Leonard's legacy.
Yeah.
You know, he's really putting some stuff up there as one of the greats.
You had said in the beginning of the podcast, well, the first podcast, that if they win the finals, that he goes up there.
Yeah, and then second of all, I think it's amazing for the NBA if the Raptors win, because it kills the idea of building super teams. You know, teams that are going to take players like Kevin Durant and DeMarcus Cousins and build super teams based on taking pay cuts and, you know, well, he had an ACL injury, so he's not good anymore. Well, obviously, DeMarcus Cousins is still going to be DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah. Or
it's just
very good.
But if a team like the Raptors can win, where, you know, they traded away a major piece that they drafted, DeMar DeRozan, and they picked up Kawhi, you know, they necessarily didn't build a super team, but they made good trades, you know, good trades that helped out their team. They drafted well. They made good signings like Patrick McCaw, you know. So if a team like the Raptors can still win the championship over a super team, you know, that was built through pay cuts like the Warriors, and obviously through drafting because Clay and Curry were drafted, but the fact that the Raptors win, I think, says a lot about the NBA, and it should make the NBA hopefully more entertaining going into the future with the fact that, you know, super teams are not just going to win every finals and it's going to be boring.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think I wrote in one of my articles how annoying the whole super team thing has become. I mean, we had discussed that maybe it didn't start with the Heat, but I feel like it definitely became more popular after the Heat did what they did, and it made it so it was kind of impossible for teams with like one and possibly a very good second player couldn't get far into the playoffs, and the Raptors are showing that it doesn't just have to be that, which is very impactful for the NBA, like you said. So I guess we'll get into the next thing.
Segue into it.
Yeah, little segue right here. Stephen A. Smith had said that if the Warriors lose the finals, Kevin Durant is most likely going to stay with the Warriors, but if they win, he's out. And when I heard that, that doesn't really make sense to me. I don't understand that rationale at all, because I'm trying to like understand it right now. Do you understand that at all?
I just felt like Stephen A. Smith or whoever it wants to be, any analyst could say what they think, but at the end of the day, I don't think anybody knows what Kevin Durant's going to do.
Definitely.
But Kevin Durant might not even know at this point. I don't think he really knows what he's doing yet. I think he's going to make the decision over the summer, personally. But, you know, you could argue either way that, if they lose, right, he'll stay. He wants to win a championship. They won a championship before. He's won a championship before with the Warriors. They have the talent to do it. You know, he wants to stay there and continue to win rings. And at the same time, if they lose, well, if the super team and this amazing team can't win a championship anymore, what's the point of staying here and hurting my legacy, where I could go somewhere else, help my legacy out, win a championship there, earn more money, you know?
Because
so it could go either way.
Like, what I'm thinking about that is, like, why would he... I feel like it would hurt his legacy so much if he can't even win with a super team, and he loses this, and then he stays on again, and what if they lose again? Like, his legacy is hurt even more than what it's been after he left the Thunder. And obviously going to a new team like the Knicks, he could rebuild them and make them a championship team and change all of the bad, that's not the right word, the bad stigma around him, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that all this speculation is a little too much, and every little move that he makes, from like his agency or whatever, his company moving to New York, him buying an apartment in New York or whatever that story is, I feel like there's always stories like that, and they don't really matter in the end. I mean, of course I hope they matter, because all the rumors point to him going to New York, but I feel like it's too early and everything. So we should have talked about this next question before that, but whatever. So before each of the podcasts, I write out a little script or whatever, and one of the questions that I was thinking about is, if the Warriors lose 4-1 to this series, how much does that hurt their legacy? Because they're probably known as one of the greatest dynasties ever, and losing to a team like the Raptors, I mean, obviously the Raptors are really good, but if they lose 4-1, that's like basically almost a sweep. And that maybe shows that they're much more weak than people think.
I'd say it hurts their legacy minimally. Again, they are the first team to make it to, 5 championships in a row, right?
Yeah.
Which is just incredible. They won 73-9. The best record ever. In my opinion, they lose this. They lose this series, and Durant leaves, and DeMarcus Cousins leaves, which is expected.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's probably the end of the Warriors dynasty as we know it in terms of just absolute domination.
Yeah.
And I would say it's more an indication of the dynasty is ending rather than it not being as good as again.
I guess
they went
all dynasties
9.
have to end, right?
They put more talent in one team than ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it really hurts their legacy, but more of an indication that it ends it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess also they haven't been the most healthy this series. And
it's usually Curry with the constant ankle injuries, but it's been Clay who never gets injured and KD. So
would you consider them like the greatest NBA dynasty ever? Are they better than the Celtics or the Bulls?
It's tough to say. I might put them over the Bulls, but the Celtics with their run was pretty incredible. The Lakers, the Lakers is just every Lakers dynasty is so impactful because that after every Lakers dynasty is done, they seem to have another one. I mean, from the Kobe Shaq era to Magic Johnson, Kareem, they had Jerry West. It's just they've had so many legends. That when I think of like teams with the ultimate dynasties, I just think Lakers. I think Celtics at 2. But the Warriors, I'd say they're up there. They might not be the biggest, the greatest dynasty ever. I definitely could see anybody arguing they could be. But I don't know. I personally don't see them as that.
The one thing about I don't think they're the greatest either, but the one thing about the Warriors is that like they basically changed basketball. They made this could just be Steph Curry and Clay, but they made the 3 basically the main thing in the NBA, in the modern NBA. I mean, it used to be that like big men were what made a team really good and stuff like that, but now everyone wants to have the players behind the arc. They want to have the big men stretch to be able to shoot threes and everything like that. I feel like maybe they've been the most impactful. Maybe not.
I could definitely, That's what I'm saying. I can definitely see that argument.
Yeah. Maybe not the greatest, though.
They've definitely, they've changed the NBA, and they're built the greatest team that's ever played together, at least in a regular season. So they definitely had a big impact. They're definitely one of the greatest dynasties ever, but to say that they're the greatest dynasty ever, I think is, debate that can go either way.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if there's much more to say about the finals. I was kind of hoping that our podcast would be after the next game because it's possible that the finals would be over, but I wanted to get it out as close to the weekend as possible. So, sorry to all our listeners. I know you're very upset. I guess we'll get into the Rockets and Mike D'Antoni's situation. You probably know more about this than I do.
Yeah, so I want to say Rockets and Mike D'Antoni were talking about a contract extension 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago. It fell through. I think the Rockets decided that they were going to wait until the end of this season to extend him. But it's looking like the talks reopened and they might put him through to an extension soon. Some reports say that it's also dropped again. I could not tell you, but I guess the debate really falls upon, does he deserve one? Yeah. I'd say he does. He brought the Rockets deeper into the playoffs. I think he's not a perfect coach. He may not ever be, Greg Popovich or, I'd say Steve Kerr, even though it's debatable whether Steve Kerr is the reason that they win or not. Yeah, I think Steve Kerr is still a really solid coach.
I'm sure he is.
The Warriors wouldn't be as good as they were without Steve Kerr and his coaching. Because, him being the three-point shooter behind Michael Jordan and, his expertise and just how to get three-point shooters open, I think it really does make an impact on the Warriors. But I digress. Mike D'Antoni, I'd say he deserves a contract extension. Here's my thing. Mike D'Antoni, I'd say, good coach, great coach maybe. Are you going to be able to find a coach that's better than him? I don't think so.
Probably not.
You're not, is it worth dropping Mike D'Antoni and not extending him to take a chance at getting a Greg Popovich.
I think his system fits so well with the Rockets that it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it didn't work out in New York when he was with. I mean, yeah, it really didn't when he was when he was the Knicks coach, but it works with the Rockets and what they have. Do you know how many years would the extension would be? What they were saying?
I have not heard any reports on that.
Yeah.
But also going on, it's just, I think in terms of the Rockets, I think he does need to work a little bit more and getting a little more ball movement because his ISO works well, but as you see, not well enough because they're not making it to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because the one thing, I mean, eventually James Harden isn't going to be James Harden anymore, and his system's not going to work if it's not really run through James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really have anything to add about that because I don't really care about the Rockets. No offense. Okay, I'll talk about Anthony Davis. So, the reports recently have been saying that his final two landing spots are the Lakers or the Knicks.
Yeah, those just came in today.
Yeah, and also my brother was telling me that the Pelicans knew what they want for an offer is an all-star caliber player, a future all-star, and two future first-round picks. I'm trying to think what the Lakers and the Knicks could offer in that way. The Knicks don't really have a all-star caliber player. I mean, someone might turn into an all-star, but they don't have like that all-star. And
they'd have to send Kevin Knox, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I think it would be Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson. I think what they would have to do is like Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, Frank Ntilikina, and Dennis Smith Jr. and two first-round picks.
Yeah.
Because
that's not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, Mitchell Robinson is really good. I feel like Kevin Knox can be really good. I don't really have any faith in Frank Ntilikina anymore.
I agree.
But the Lakers, they have like maybe Brandon Ingram is their all-star caliber player.
I think it's going to be Lonzo. If they're trying to package Lonzo Ball because
I'm sure that he'd be in there.
He seems to draw the most interest from every other team.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is I think LeBron's favorite player that he played with on the Lakers is Lonzo.
Really?
I mean, That's surprising. I actually just watched Colin Cowherd just had LeVar Ball on his show the other day.
He's
and
still
LeVar
around.
Ball, even though he's crazy as he is, he makes these predictions and they always seem to turn out to be right. But when he mentioned how, look at LeBron, who he hangs out with on the Lakers. Generally nobody. The only person he's been seen with is Lonzo Ball. He does the barber show where he's at the barber shop and he talks and discusses. Lonzo Ball is the only player from the Lakers that he's brought on there. So I think he likes, Lonzo's ability, his passing ability and his ability to create ball movement.
Yeah.
Because LeBron likes working with good basketball players in terms of like IQ. They may not be the most talented, but if they have good IQ, then LeBron's a fan of that. So I'd say, from a Knicks perspective, whatever the Knicks could offer for Anthony Davis, I just don't think it's worth it. I mean, unless they get him for a really good deal. If I was the Knicks, I wouldn't touch Kevin Knox. I wouldn't touch Mitchell Robinson. I wouldn't touch Dennis Smith Jr. Everybody else is on the table, including picks. But going into our next section, I'll let you decide when we go into that. But RJ Barrett seems like he really wants to be a Knicks, so it's kind of tough. The Knicks are in a tough situation. So
I have one thing to add about that.
Go ahead.
With the Knicks, like, I'm sure you know, but what they always mess up by going after that big star and trading all of their future for it. And what this new regime with Scott Perry and I don't know what's the other guy's name? Whatever. With Scott Perry, they've been able to keep all their picks, get a lot more picks, and not trade them all away for one player. And with Anthony Davis, they're trading away three of their picks, plus two extra picks, and that's ruining the rest of their future. I mean, I guess it depends on what they can get in free agency, but I don't think Anthony Davis is really good, but I don't think he's worth all of that. I mean, he is a young player still, but we saw with Carmelo Anthony, they tried for it, and he had success, and they did go to the playoffs, but it didn't turn into a championship or anything, and I feel like it's way too much, and some of those players are so young that you don't know what they could turn into. So that's all I have to say on that. Nick started talking about RJ Barrett. Did he have a workout today?
I have no clue. I just know the only meeting he took was with the Knicks.
Yeah, I think he had a workout today, and in his closing interview, he said that he only has training with the Knicks, and he doesn't want any other team to pick him or anything like that because he wants to be a Knick.
He said that quote unquote, this is the place I want to be in terms of the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, that's very nice to hear. I'm sure any player who's expected to go number 3 overall would say that. Obviously, it's nice to know that a player wants to go to the Knicks, being a Knicks fan, I guess. I still want Zion. That's not going to happen, but RJ Barrett is a very nice second option, I guess.
Yeah. Going off on that, it's funny how you talked about that. We didn't write this in. I was actually talking with my friend the other day about how the Knicks have kind of handled their situations with players. It seems as if the player wants to play for the Knicks, they trade him away. If they don't want to come to the Knicks, they pick him up. So I just brought up. I don't know if you've ever seen where it's on YouTube. If you want to look at it, you might have seen it already. They were shooting interviews with Derrick Rose, right before he was traded, and he was still, the cameras were on while he was actually traded. His agent called him. He burst into tears. He did not want to go to the Knicks, and the Knicks picked him up. And it's funny because then it's like Tim Hardaway Jr. Right? He wanted to be a Knick. Yeah. They traded him away.
They traded him away twice.
And yeah, exactly. Ennis Cantor wanted to be a Knick. They traded him away.
Yeah.
I just thought that segment was funny, but going back into RJ Barrett, I don't know. Personally, if I was the Knicks, I'd take RJ Barrett. I'd keep my picks. I would not trade away the entire team for Anthony Davis. Yeah. It's just Anthony Davis is good, but he's not as good as 5 to 6 young stars, you know, or 8 young potentials, because you don't know what they're going to turn into. And in my opinion, 6 semi-talented players or 5 semi-talented players is more talented than just one superstar.
Yeah. The one thing I have to say to that, Frank Ntilikina, I don't even think is semi-talented, but that's okay. I'd still rather have all those players still. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have to say about that. I don't really think there's anything else. So we also want to talk about Kyrie Irving. So right now, I feel like Kyrie Irving's Nets or Knicks. I think they're the Celtics are basically not even an option anymore.
Yeah, they're gone. I agree with you.
Yeah. I saw Stephen A. Smith said again that Kyrie Irving said that he wants to go to the Nets rather than the Knicks. But he also said that the Knicks are still an option. And there's a picture that of him in New York, and it was miles away from MSG, miles away from Barclays Center. It was so it's I don't really know what's going to happen with that situation.
In terms of Kyrie, I think unlike Kevin Durant, he's actually shown some interest in coming to the Nets or Knicks. He was seen around here. He actually posted a picture with the rapper Fat Joe.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And then he was like, I'm going to get him to come to the Knicks or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just think that Kyrie, being in New York, not reports, not this and that. He was actually in New York, seemed to be enjoying it. He actually grew up, right off in New Jersey.
Yeah, so he probably grew up a Nets fan.
Yeah, I think he's going Nets or Knicks. I think he's pretty much a lock-in for that. Yeah. I think right now he's leaning towards Nets because that was his team growing up, and they also will have a max spot for him. He might wait to see what KD and other players, Jimmy Butler, see what they do. But yeah, I think he's definitely a locker for the Nets or Knicks, and he's deciding. He wants to keep his options open.
Yeah, Friday night I was working on the Kyrie Irving video, and when I make the video, I cut all the highlights together and I watch them. It was 2 hours of Kyrie Irving highlights, and all of the highlights are so he has such good ball handling, and it'd be so cool if he went to the Knicks. Obviously, being a Knicks fan, but I feel like when you're a little kid, you always want to play for your team that you're a fan of, and he has the opportunity to do that. That's probably really cool for him, and I could definitely see him choosing the Nets over the Knicks. But one thing that's also true is when you become a basketball player and you play for different teams, you kind of lose that fandom or probably like a majority of that fandom you lose. So he could definitely end up with the Knicks too if that's a better opportunity for him. So we have our favorite team segment. One thing I wanted to talk about before we get into that, like baseball news. Yesterday, Big Poppy was.
Nice shot.
Was it the back?
There's been multiple reports. Some people saying in the leg, some people saying in the back.
Yeah,
it's unclear at this point, I think.
In the Dominican Republic. Right now, he's in stable condition, which is obviously very good.
Yeah, I saw reports that the Red Sox sent out a plane to go pick him up and bring him back to Boston.
Yeah. That's very scary, but
prayers up to him.
Yeah, hope he gets better. Obviously, there's not much else to say about that. On better terms, we'll talk about our favorite teams.
Oh, by the way, just breaking news. I just got an update on my phone. Mets and Yankees game was postponed for the rain.
I saw that like 20 minutes ago. Yeah. So this favorite team segment's going to be a little interesting since it's the Subway Series coming up, and we basically just talk about the Mets and the Yankees. So you can talk about the Yankees first if you want. Hold on. Go.
So the Yankees, they've had a rough couple weeks. Last week or so. The last 10 games they went 5-5. I think they dropped roughly 5 games in a row. The hitting was lackluster. The pitching was lackluster. The Yankees really have not been themselves. They're tied first place in the Eastern Division. They did win yesterday, and they're going to play the Mets, so it should turn around. Didi Gregorius just came back, and I think in his second game back he hit a home run, so that's looking good. But we just got to keep looking and keep eyeing them as players come back. Going into the Subway Series, the Yankees should be able to pick up a couple easy wins.
Yeah, that's funny.
So.
Well, unlike the Yankees, the Mets actually had somewhat of a decent week. They won some games, lost some games. Better than when they lose most of their games.
2-win streak right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're only 2 games under 500, so... they play 3 games against the Yankees, so, they'll be on probably like a 5-game winning streak. And 3 games over 500, probably like 3 games out of first place at the end of playing the Yankees. No, I'm joking.
Yankees are going to go 2-1 in the series.
That's probably true. I don't really have any faith that they'll actually be able to beat the Yankees. Wait, is it? Where is it? Is it at Yankee Stadium? Yeah, it is. Especially since the Mets are not in their home field. One thing about the Subway Series that always bothers me, so I usually watch... to be honest, I haven't been watching a lot of the Mets games recently because it's just not fun. Because they're not good. But one thing that always bothers me about the Subway Series, and my dad always says it, is when they play at Citi Field, it seems like the Yankees fans are always louder than the Mets fans, which really pisses me off. But recently, because of... Do you know who the 7 line is?
No clue.
Okay, so the 7 line is like this group of Mets fans that travels to multiple Mets games during the season, and it's probably like... Whenever they have these games, it's probably like 50 or so Mets fans that dress in the same thing. They have all the same things that they like shout at the players and things like that. And during the Subway Series recently, they've been able to infiltrate Yankee Stadium and basically do what Yankees fans have been doing to Mets fans for all these years. I'm sure they have another thing this series, so that's something that I'll look forward to because the Mets will probably not be winning. Let's see, who's pitching? Doesn't really matter because all the Mets pitchers are sucking.
Pitching tomorrow.
Yeah. Let me see.
It was postponed.
I had this up right here, but it's not loaded right now. Okay, whatever. For the Mets, it doesn't really matter because they all are bad. Even though 4 out of 5 should be good, but it seems like Jason Vargas is... Noah Syndergaard did have a good game yesterday, but somehow Jason Vargas, I think, still has the best ERA on the Mets. Kind of scary, because Jason Vargas is not supposed to be good. and he's not really good, but he has the best ERA out of all 5 of the bad pitchers. Bad pitchers right now. Jacob deGrom is a good pitcher, so is Noah Syndergaard, but they just haven't proven a lot this year. Let's see. There's so much I could say about the Subway Series.
It's supposed to be Zach Wheeler against Tanaka, the first game.
Okay. How's Tanaka doing this season?
He's 3-5, so not hot.
What's his ERA?
That is a good question. I am unsure.
Probably better than Zach Wheeler's. Wait, that's right here. Where is it? Oh, come on, Baseball Reference. Load. 3.42. Actually, that's probably right around where Zach Wheeler is.
No.
Whatever. The Yankees are more talented than the Mets, so that doesn't really matter. We had some technical difficulties, but we'll just get right back into the great flowing conversation that we're having. Zach Wheeler does not. He has a 4.61 ERA compared to Tanaka's 3.42 ERA, so advantage Tanaka, and probably advantage Yankees overall. There's not much more I have to say about the Subway Series. I always have stuff to say about the Yankees and Mets, but I feel like we might want to get into our next topic unless you have something else to add.
No, I think I'm good.
Lit. Okay. So we're going to get into our controversial segment. We need to come up with names for these.
Yeah. I thought of this, by the way. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Nick did think of this. He's got a big brain.
Brian's is bigger, but...
No, it's not true. I can't think of a name right now. Comment down below, because we love all the comments you've been leaving, which is 0 comments.
Tons. Hundreds. We can't respond to them quick enough.
They just keep on flowing in. Like I'm getting alerts all the time on my phone.
I think we have to hire a team soon.
I think so. Okay. So what we're going to discuss this week is if college athletes should be paid.
Yeah, might as well start off with a typical one, since we're while we're at it.
And if you have any other ideas of controversial topics, leave more comments.
Absolutely. Contact us. We'll plug that at the end. But
yeah. You can say what you want first.
So should college athletes be paid? My answer is yes.
Ooh, okay.
I'll start from my perspective as a high school athlete. As a high school athlete, right? I was in my honors classes and I was in my APs classes and whatnot. So that obviously took up a lot of my time, SATs, trying to get ready for college. But my typical day, right? I'd wake up. I didn't really eat breakfast. It wasn't a big breakfast eater. I'd go to my classes from 7:30 to 2:26, right? Then I get home and I, get changed, get into ready for practice. I'd go to practice at 3. I'd get back home at 7. I'd sit down, eat dinner. By the time I was ready to do my homework, it was 8:39. Then I'd do my homework until 12, 1 o'clock, because I was again in those more difficult classes, and I'd repeat my day. So I'd get 5 hours of sleep on a daily basis in high school. In college, I actually get more now, but since I don't play any sports anymore. But so that's just me from a high school perspective, and I know for a fact that college athletes, they have 4:30 practices, and then they have class from they have practices from 4:30 to 6:30, and they have weightlifting from 6:30 to 7:30, and they have classes from 8:30 to 9:30. Their entire day is just strictly sports, and they don't have time for really a job outside of the sport, especially if they're Division I athletes, even Division II athletes. Division III, you have a little more leeway, but it's still still takes a lot of their time. But I'd say definitely Division I athletes deserve to get paid. It takes up all their time. It's all they can focus on. They eat, sleep, breathe that sport. They hardly have time for classes. A lot of the students who do take on these sports can't even pursue the career they're looking for because it takes up too much of their time. They have to take easier majors and whatnot. Some of them obviously choose to do that. Some of them don't. But yeah, and the fact that the NCAA profits so much. I actually did I did a piece on this year in my writing, one of my writing classes in the first semester, fall semester. And I forget how much Alabama made. I want to say it was in the billions. They made billions off the football team.
Yeah.
And that's just incredible. And the players get no part of that. The NCAA as a whole uses the players' likeness to earn money, and they profit so much off of it. And where is this money going at the end of the day? I think how much the players should get paid is a totally different subject, but I think at the end of the day, they do deserve to get paid for their time, the fact that they're being used to make a profit.
I think we broke up again.
Nice.
Did you say they're being used to make a profit?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that your final thing?
Yeah. I'll let you go.
So, good thing for this debate, I have a different view on this. I was not a high school athlete. I'd like to say it's because I wanted to focus on my academics. Which is true, I did want to focus on my academics, but I don't have the football body. I'm okay at basketball, not good enough to be on the high school basketball team.
He's a three-point shooter. I've seen him in action.
Sometimes.
It's like Curry, but better.
I used to be better. But, so, I don't really know the whole scheduling thing. I know that it's a problem for a lot of kids. But for college athletes, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this the best way. The big college... Okay. I'm going to start with talking about the big college athletes and then get into the smaller college athletes. So, many of... Maybe I partially agree with what you're saying. For this, I'm going to start with the smaller ones. For the smaller college athletes, I feel that there should be something for them, because what I'm going to get into is that I feel like a scholarship, which most of the big players get to go to these colleges, shouldn't be taken lightly. I mean, Duke players, paying for Duke is not cheap, and that's probably like, I don't really know how much it is, but it's probably like $50,000 per semester for room and board, and they get all of that for $0. And they get to play a sport that they love playing. Most of them are really good. Most of them make it to well, not most of them. Many of them make it to the NBA. And I'm still not wording this right. How do I word this?
You're just trying to say that the scholarships is their salary.
Yeah, I'm trying to say the scholarships are their salary, and that for a lot of these players that make it to the NBA, not being paid during college, I feel like they're still going to get back that money at some point, because they're going to make it to the NBA. And the thing that you're saying about them not being able to take classes that they want and things like that, for a lot of these players, I can't generalize it, but a lot of them have these tutors that basically do all their work for them, and most of them really don't care about school. I don't want to say most of them, but a lot of them don't really care about school. Like Ben Simmons, for one, he didn't want to go to classes, and I think he had to stay extra just so he didn't fail or something. And I did a project too where I quoted some football player, and he basically said, "Why do we have to go to classes? We're here to play football, not to be good at school."
I totally see what you're saying there. Yeah.
And I feel, but what I want to say about the smaller college athletes is, which is why I partially agree with what you were saying, is that the smaller ones have to be more focused on school and can't ride with that they're going to make it to the NBA and get this money. They don't get really the scholarships. There's always some videos of these kids who didn't deserve scholarships at the beginning eventually getting scholarships for playing basketball and things like that. Just being nice, but they're not going to make it to the NBA, they're not going to make it to the NFL and things like that. So they're not going to get their money back that maybe they could have been making. And the thing about what you're saying about the NCAA, that's tough. I guess they are making a lot off of them. And Yeah, maybe they do deserve some money. I just totally changed my opinion. I just feel like I know what I'm trying to say, but it still doesn't come off as that strong of an argument.
Yeah.
Because there's the majority of them aren't good enough to make it to the NBA and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I guess piggybacking off what you said, I see your point, but again, like I think what you just said can actually help support my point in terms of a lot of them do make it to the NBA, but at the same time, a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
A lot of them have this false perception of I'm here to play a sport.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like these players that is every single kid who played on Duke this year making it to the NBA?
No.
They might have the mindset that I'm here to play basketball, but at the end of the day, they're still getting a Duke education, It's very important. And so, not all of them are making it to the NBA and going to make the type of money. Second of all, going off of, their scholarship is their salary. I see what you're saying there. That is a lot of money, $50,000, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, is $50,000 that much money? They're kind of limited also when they can spend that in. It's just their scholarship. What about, or just their room, their board? What about things outside of that? A lot of these players do come from really poor backgrounds, but they have this talent, and they're trying to use it to their advantage, and trying to do well for their family. So a lot of these players can't even afford to eat because they need to. They're spending all their time playing basketball or football, but they don't have time to go work a job outside of that, so they can't afford enough money to get something to eat or to drive to a doctor's appointment or whatever it may be. They don't have the gas money for that. So they're limited in what the money they can spend. And, there's a lot of, hidden costs to life that I think a scholarship is just, it doesn't cover in terms of, especially, how much time they dedicate to their sport.
Yeah, that's definitely true. One of the things that I thought of while you were talking about that, some of these, this is going to come off kind of a little jerky, but, being a kid that focused a lot on academics, and I know that you care about this too, is getting into a good school, and these kids are able to use, which might not really happen to do with this debate, but these kids are able to use their sports abilities to get into these schools that kids put a lot dream about and put a lot of effort in academically to getting into. I don't know how much value that adds, but it definitely adds a numerical value to the amount of scholarship they're getting, because a Duke education is top of the line education, and these players these kids are getting into it because a lot of them are good at basketball and not because of their academics past and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, going off what you just said right there, I kind of agree with you. That's what I'm saying. They're there for the education, but at the same time, again, a lot of them are not smart enough to receive a real Duke education. A lot of them are there because of their scholarships and their ability to play, X, Y, and Z sport. That's why I feel like, number one, giving them a salary in terms of it's more of a job than just an education. But also, if you can somehow figure out a way to separate sport from college, if the colleges, the NCAA shell out some money to each of the colleges or whatever it may be, so they could pick up, how about, I'm just spitballing here, a system where however many players are on a scholarship, athletic scholarship at that school, they have to offer just as many spots as students. So Duke may take 2,000 students a year. Right now, it's 1,500 regular students, 500 athletes. Well, Duke should have to offer another 500 spots to regular students. I think that might be a fair system of doing so, especially if the NCAA shell out some money in order to support the schools and picking up these extra students.
I doubt they will, but that's definitely would be a nice thing for them to do.
Yeah, but I mean, then they also got to fight the colleges too, because that affects their acceptance rates. And they want to be as rich as possible. They try to lower their acceptance rates, but it's more. I guess it's changing the culture of college in general at that point.
Yeah, the college system is all messed up anyway. But
that's the argument for another day.
Yeah, maybe not for a sports podcast, but
yeah.
I can't think of anything else I have to say about that. I guess you have anything else to say about that?
Not really, no.
That ends our first controversial segment. Wow.
Yeah.
What a great segment. I mean, that's my favorite segment so far. Okay, I guess that's it for now. Nick, if you have any final words you want to say?
The usual. We're still learning, we're growing, figuring out.
Yeah, we are growing. We gained 2 subscribers today.
Boom, we're growing, we're getting
21
subscribers. We're working on the podcast every day. I try to brainstorm with the controversial segment. I hope that, our listeners like it. Tell your friends about it. Comments, concerns, questions, you could email us at TheSportUniverse2019@gmail.com, or you can contact me at nicholas10@yahoo.com. You can find my Instagram, nick.horvath. I'm pretty open on there. It's mostly just me and, family and whatnot and school. I'm pretty open. But if you have any comments, again, concerns, just, feel free to contact us, or if you have suggestions, contact us,
Yeah. Yesterday I posted a podcast with one of my friends. I don't know if Nick listened to it. It was supposed to be more of a funny podcast.
I have not yet. I will tonight.
It wasn't that funny. It's probably not going to be a continued thing, but we'll see. So that's basically it. We're going to be back next week. We should have Jonathan back too. Let's see. Let us know what you think, obviously. Comment down below. Contact us at TheSportUniverse2019@gmail.com. Keep on watching the YouTube videos. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's a new one coming out today about the MLB #1 overall pick. So watch that. So highlight videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Podcast on the weekend. If you have any interest writing or editing videos for us, contact, once again, TheSportUniverse2019@gmail.com. And thanks for listening.
For real, this time.